Hi, it's Penny Black and Jill Foster here with another PB&J card class. And in today's video, I'm going to be working on a set of really fun, whimsical cards featuring Penny Black's newest transparent set called Be Happy. And it is full of all these really whimsical, happy critters that are just blooming with blossoms and also some really fun sentiments as well. And you can get a look here at lots of those different critters, and we'll be doing some really fun coloring on those as well. All of these cards, the overall layout for each card was inspired by this beautiful card by Pete Rovin. And I'll be sure to put a link to her card down in the YouTube description box below. And based off her card, I sort of created a sketch that I could use as a loose outline for creating my cards. I especially like the way that she framed up her elements and put that black matting behind it. So here's a look just at one more of those cards. And before we begin, I wanted to mention that I will have a full supply list of everything I'm using in the video today, including the colors and everything that I have used at the very end of the video up on screen. So before we begin, I wanted to give you a really nice close look at this Be Happy transparent set from Penny Black. I'll be using lots of these critters. And I'm also really excited to be doing some coloring with Arteza watercolor pencils. And the kind folks at Arteza sent me these watercolor pencils to work with, and I had a blast coloring with them. This set is especially nice because it is just loaded with colors, and colors really make me happy. Um, and they also have said that if any of you are interested in trying these out yourself, I have a coupon code for you for 10% off, and I will put that down in the YouTube description box below, along with links to this watercolor set that I am using. So there was a look at all of the sets and the great case for them, and I've just picked out a few of my favorites that I'll be using on all of the cards today. So to begin, off camera, just to save a little time, I did stamp these images onto cold press watercolor paper using VersaFine Onyx black ink. I made sure it was totally dry before I begin coloring. And I'm just using these watercolor pencils. And what I'm doing on the turtle here is I'm just putting down some color right along those sort of curves on his shell. And then I'm going to go in with a water brush and just kind of blend my way right up into that area that I colored. And you can see that that just blends down. But because I'm not adding too much water, I can also keep that darker edge where I applied the color. And this works really well on this turtle shell. The water brushes I'm using are also from Arteza, and what's great about them is there's a pack of 6, so they have a lot of different sizes of nibs that you can use with them, which is very handy. So I just followed this process on the rest of his shell. I did kind of skip up to a next row of those curves just so that I gave some time for the bottom curves that I colored to dry and not so I don't have a lot of color blending and bleeding into each other. And then I repeated that process for the rest of his body. It is so simple. If you are a little bit intimidated by watercoloring, this is a really great place to start. And I think that the watercolor pencils are the perfect complement to this very whimsical stamp design. Here I am coloring onto the little flowers up here, putting the color down where I want it to be the darkest and leaving some white open areas. That's where I will blend it up with the water. So I'll get a nice fade from light to dark just by using one pencil. Now these little blooms and leaves up here are very small, so the pencils allow you to get right up in there and blend with them. And also because they're so vibrant, you can really still get some nice vibrant color even though you're working in just a little small area. So you can see now I'm just going to go in with the water brush, just add a little bit of water and then blend it up. I do keep a paper towel off to the side that I can sort of dab off the tip of my brush if it gets a little bit more water than I want. And I also have a cup of water that I use to rinse it, just rinse off my brush real quickly in between colors. So I'm just blending those up and it is as simple as that. Now another product from Arteza that I'm using are their Real Brush pens. Now I'll have another video coming where I'm featuring 3 different ways to color with these water-based markers, but today I'm just using them to create some color on an old acrylic block, just a palette that I can use to add some color to my backgrounds. So I'm just coloring with those onto an acrylic block, and then I'll go in with another water brush. This time I can use one of the larger sizes, and I will add some water to those, so create some puddles of color there. And then I will use that to paint onto my backgrounds. Now I'm mixing these two colors because I wanted sort of a light turquoise color. So you can see I'm just testing it out on a scratch paper. Now I'm going to put some water down. This is just plain water coming out of that water brush before I paint onto the background. I just wanted this to be very light, but to give the card a finished look. And while that area is wet, then I just pick up the color from that acrylic block and blend it out into that wet area. I'm definitely not looking for perfection. If there's areas of light and dark, or places where it dries or you can see an edge, for me that is totally fine. That's great with this particular style of image. These really whimsical, fun looking stamps, they don't really need perfection, and that I think sometimes the inconsistencies make them even better. Now I wanted it to seem like those blooms were just sort of spraying out happiness and color, so I colored with one of those watercolor pencils on a scrap piece of paper, and then just added water with the water brush pen and picked it up and flicked it onto the background. I'm just going to do a couple of colors. So this is another way you can use those watercolor pencils just to splatter your background. You could also use them that way to paint a background too. So here's a look at that finished card. I just matted it up with Penny Black Stitch Nested Frames die and some other dies on there to finish things off. I thought I'd show you a little bit more coloring here on another one of these stamps, again from that Be Happy stamp set. And I'm putting down that color with the watercolor pencils where I want it to be the darkest. And I'm not shy when I'm putting down this color. I like to color it pretty heavy because that way when I add the water, that gives me more pigment there to work with. And there were lots of different shades of gray that I could pick from that 72 color set, so I was able to get just the right one for this a cute, adorable elephant. And then I'm just going in here now with that smaller water brush and then blending out that watercolor pencil pigment. And then I'll put a little more color down with a pencil and go back and blend that. I also colored in these blooms really bright, really bold. Same technique of just putting down that color where I want it to be the darkest and then blending it out with the water. And I really like to mix up here on some of the parts of the image that look like they could be leaves. It's totally okay to do them in bright colors like they're petals. You just can't, there's no rules, especially for images like this that are so whimsical and fun that it's an elephant with flowers coming out. You can't color the flowers wrong. Nothing has to be realistic or true to life because it starts out being just fun. And if you usually do more elegant style cards, I really recommend giving these type of stamps a try because when you're working on with them and coloring them, it's just such a happy feeling. You can't help but smile when you're coloring this in. And I think they'd be a unique surprise for whoever you send your cards to. Now for this set, I sort of finished them off all very in a very similar way. And so I also think these would be a great set that you could give to somebody that they could use to send out to their friends. So you could put like a matching ribbon around them with some colorful envelopes, and it would be a great gift set too. And here you can see now I've just grabbed that water brush and I'm going in and blending those out. Looks like you spent a lot of time shading and painting, and it's a really quite easy way to color your images. I use the same technique to paint the ground and the sky on this image as well as the rest that we'll get a closer look at here. My die cut leaves and are from Penny Black's Leaves die and the Bold Branch die. And they were just a fun way to embellish those frames that I added. And the sentiments for these are all from that Be Happy set, except one is from our Full Bloom set, which has another adorable critter. Now this zebra has to probably be my favorite, and I couldn't resist giving him some rainbow hair along with a Be Bold sentiment. And I thank you so much for watching today. I hope you are inspired to give these wonderful watercolor pencils and Penny Black's Be Happy stamp set a try. If you enjoyed today's video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also connect with Penny Black on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, as well as our website and blog. And all of those I will be linking for you down in the YouTube description box below. And stay tuned, here is that list of supplies as promised. Thanks for watching.